There comes a moment in every life when a person must make a sacred decision to turn away from the crowd, from comparison, from the endless noise of opinion sand to face the mirror of their own becoming. That moment, though quiet, is the beginning of everything. For as long as your attention is scattered among others, your power is divided, your vision clouded, and your destiny delayed. But the instant you pull your energy back to yourself, a shift occurs so profound that the universe itself begins to move in rhythm with your inner command. You have been conditioned to believe that watching others will guide you. You have been taught to measure your worth against the progress of another. But understand this: every moment spent watching someone else's path is a moment stolen from your own creation. The Creator did not design you to imitate, He designed you to manifest. And manifestation can only arise from the soil of focused energy, self-awareness, and inner stillness. When you focus on yourself, you are not isolating, you are refining. You are choosing power over approval, purpose over distraction, growth over gossip. You are stepping out of the arena of noise and stepping into the sanctuary of command. It is there, in that sacred silence, that the voice of your higher self speaks. And what it tells you is simple: I have been waiting for you to return home to yourself. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the recognition that you no longer need to chase, to compare, or to compete, because you understand that everything meant for you is already moving toward you. The moment you stop grasping for others' approval, your own spirit begins to rise in authority. The moment you stop envying another's success, your energy multiplies to build your own. This is the secret the world hides behind its illusions. You do not win by looking around, you win by looking within. Most people are enslaved not by circumstance but by distraction. They scatter their spiritual energy by observing the opinions, possessions, and actions of others. Yet the wise understand that attention is creation. Whatever you focus on expands. So if your gaze is fixed on others, you are feeding their growth, not your own. But when you turn inward, when you meditate on your purpose, your vision, your discipline, you begin to awaken divine power within. You begin to rise beyond reaction, beyond emotion, beyond comparison. To focus on yourself is not selfishness, it is sacred responsibility. The tree must root itself deeply before it can give fruit. The candle must ignite within before it can light the room. Likewise, you must develop your inner strength before your presence can uplift others. The world does not change because you try to change people. It changes because you have changed your vibration. Every act of self-mastery becomes a silent command to the universe saying, I am ready to receive. Those who look outward become lost in illusion. Those who look inward become masters of reality. You cannot serve two powers at once: the external world and the internal truth. One will drain you, the other will renew you. The instant you decide to withdraw your attention from the meaningless chatter of others and direct it toward the refinement of your soul, you activate the law of transformation. Suddenly, doors begin to open, people shift around you, and situations rearrange themselves not because you forced them to, but because you changed the frequency from which your life operates. The weak react to everything. The strong remain still, watching with understanding, choosing their response with precision. Emotional detachment is the proof of spiritual power. It means that your peace is no longer held hostage by what others think or do. It means you have learned to stand in your own center, unshaken, radiant, certain. That calmness you cultivate becomes magnetic. It draws opportunities, it attracts respect, it commands attention without ever asking for it. The greatest transformation occurs when you no longer seek validation. You move from needing attention to commanding energy. You stop performing and start creating. You stop chasing and start attracting. This is the shift from dependency to dominion, from confusion to clarity, from noise to knowing. And once you taste that power, you will never again surrender your energy to distraction. So withdraw your gaze from the world. Bring it back to your breath, your purpose, your craft, your growth. Build in silence. Strengthen in solitude. Let others talk, scroll, and compete. You, meanwhile, will rise not because you tried to outshine them, but because you finally understood the sacred truth: when you focus on yourself, everything else must change. To focus on yourself is to awaken the sleeping giant within mind that once drifted with the current of comparison, now learns to command the tides of destiny. You see, life rewards the man or woman who learns to harness the full power of attention. Attention is the most sacred form of energy given to the human spirit. Whatever you give your attention to becomes your master. When your attention is consumed by others, their actions, their possessions, their opinions, you hand over your divine energy to illusions. But when you gather that attention and direct it inward, toward your growth, your mastery, your spirit, you reclaim dominion over your own life. You become no longer the product of external influence, but the architect of your own creation. Many people live in quiet frustration, not because life has denied them power, but because they have denied themselves focus. They scatter their thoughts on the movements of others and wonder why they never move forward. They compare their beginning to another's middle and crush their own confidence. They seek approval from those who cannot approve themselves. But the moment a man stops looking outward and begins to refine what is within, a divine shift occurs. The energy that once fueled jealousy transforms into creativity. The time that once fed distraction becomes the foundation of purpose. Every bit of attention reclaimed becomes a building block in the temple of greatness. To focus on yourself is to declare spiritual independence. It is to stand before the mirror of life and say, I will no longer be ruled by reaction. I will no longer give my peace to things that have no power. That is the beginning of freedom. For most are not enslaved by others, they are enslaved by their need to observe, to compare, to validate their worth through external eyes. The truth is, when you stop feeding those illusions, they lose power over you. You begin to see that the opinions of others are nothing but passing shadows, and shadows cannot dim the light of one who walks in purpose. This world is filled with noise voices pulling you toward imitation, trends demanding your attention, and people desperate to be seen. But the one who rises above all that is the one who learns the art of silence. Silence is power. It is the chamber where ideas are born, where discipline is forged, where faith is strengthened. When you are no longer distracted by others, your mind clears. In that stillness, your intuition becomes sharp, your thoughts become creative, and your energy aligns with divine purpose. You begin to hear the inner whisper that says, this is who you are meant to be. That voice cannot be heard amid noise. It only speaks to those who have learned to detach from the chaos and listen within. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. You stop depending on recognition to feel valuable, on applause to feel worthy, on competition to feel alive. Detachment is mastery. It is the proof that your peace is self-sustained. When you detach from the emotional weight of others' opinions, you unlock a new dimension of power. You no longer react, you choose. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer feel threatened by another's success, for you understand that your destiny is not in conflict with theirs. What is meant for you cannot be taken by another. The secret of transformation lies in attention. Whatever you observe with intensity, you energize. If you constantly observe lack, you multiply it. If you constantly observe fear, you feed it. But if you direct your observation inward toward gratitude, faith, and growth, you begin to attract experiences that reflect those states. Life mirrors your inner state. When your attention is scattered, your reality becomes chaotic. When your attention is disciplined, your reality becomes ordered. When you focus on others, you give them the power to define you. But when you focus on yourself, you reclaim that power and define your own path. Many have yet to discover this simple truth. Energy follows focus. The one who focuses on gossip attracts drama. The one who focuses on self-mastery attracts opportunity. The one who focuses on others' journeys loses their way, while the one who focuses on inner development finds clarity and confidence. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary lies not in luck, but in the direction of attention. The ordinary person spends their days observing others. The extraordinary person spends their days building themselves. To focus on yourself is to invest in your becoming. It means asking, how can I refine my mind? How can I discipline my thoughts? How can I rise above my emotions? These questions build character. They awaken the higher self that was buried beneath the weight of distraction. As you strengthen this focus, your vibration begins to change. You move differently. You speak differently. You no longer seek to prove, you simply express. You no longer crave validation, you radiate certainty. And soon, without effort, the world begins to respond. People are drawn to your energy because it is whole. Opportunities begin to appear because your spirit is ready to receive them. You begin to realize that every moment you once wasted in comparison was a seed of potential left unplanted. Every second spent worrying about another's progress was energy stolen from your own garden. Now you begin to tend that garden. You plant discipline where envy once grew. You water your faith where fear once lived. And as you nurture this inner soil, abundance begins to bloom first within, then around you. This is not magic, it is divine law. What you nurture within, you manifest without. The great tragedy of humanity is not ignorance, it is distraction. Most people know what to do, but their attention is too fragmented to do it. They know their purpose, but they are too occupied watching others fulfill theirs. Yet the wise understand that focus is sacred currency. Every time you give your energy to something unworthy of it, you are spending your destiny. When you take it back, you become rich again, rich in time, in clarity, in peace. As your focus deepens, you begin to feel something powerful awaken within, a quiet authority, a steady peace, an unshakable faith. You no longer need to announce your progress, it announces itself. You no longer chase recognition, your energy speaks before you do. You realize that focusing on yourself was never about isolation, it was about elevation. You have not left others behind, you have risen to where comparison cannot reach. When you focus on yourself, the mind sharpens, the spirit strengthens, and the path clears. You begin to see that your only competition is the person you were yesterday. You measure your worth not by what others think, but by the progress of your own becoming. You learn to celebrate others without losing sight of your mission. And slowly, the entire rhythm of your life changes. What once drained you now fuels you. What once distracted you now teaches you. What once defined you now serves you. When you focus on yourself, you step into divine partnership with your own destiny. You stop waiting for permission. You stop apologizing for evolving. You stop explaining your silence. You begin to walk with the cue. Yuiat confidence of one who knows their power. You realize that everything you were searching for in others was waiting for you within yourself all along. And from that moment, everything begins to align, not because the world changed, but because you did. There is a sacred turning point in life when a person awakens to the truth that energy, once given to others, must be reclaimed for their own evolution. The soul grows tired of comparison, weary of external noise, and hungry for divine alignment. In that moment of inner exhaustion, the spirit whispers, "It is time to come home." That home is not a place, but a state of being, a state where your mind becomes still, your emotions become disciplined, and your focus becomes pure. When you focus on yourself, you do not lose connection with the world, you gain control over how the world affects you. You stop being a product of your environment and become a producer of your reality. The truth is that most people never discover their true power because they have been conditioned to constantly observe, measure, and imitate others. They live in the shadows of other people's light, forgetting that their own flame was meant to burn uniquely. They scroll through endless images of lives that do not belong to them, compare their worth against illusions, and wonder why their energy feels drained. Yet energy cannot flourish in imitation, it thrives in authenticity. When you redirect your focus inward, when you stop watching others and start studying yourself, the fog begins to clear. You begin to see the divine pattern of your own design, the unique purpose woven into your existence. To focus on yourself is to acknowledge that your inner world creates your outer experience. If your thoughts are chaotic, your life will mirror that chaos. If your mind is disciplined, Your world will begin to reflect that order. The man who learns to command his attention becomes a master of destiny. The woman who ceases to react to every opinion and emotion begins to walk with quiet authority. They no longer move from impulse, they move from intention. This is the highest form of Puerto remain calm in motion, silent in noise, still in the storm. That is the essence of focusing on yourself. It is not self-centeredness, it is soul-centeredness. Emotional and spiritual detachment is the bridge to that mastery. Detachment does not mean you stop caring about people or outcomes. It means you care deeply, but with wisdom. You love, but without clinging. You serve, but without losing yourself. You give, but without expecting in return. It is a higher love, purified from dependency and fear. When you detach, you release the illusion that others control your peace. You begin to live from a place of abundance, not need. You are no longer a beggar of validation, you are the giver of light. The moment you realize that no one can complete you, you become complete. That is divine freedom. Focusing on yourself demands courage because it requires solitude. The world will tempt you to stay distracted, chase trends, to seek attention, to compare and compete. But solitude is where strength is built. It is in the stillness of your own mind that ideas are born and visions are formed. It is there that your true voice, the one drowned out by the noise of the world, finally begins to speak. And that voice does not whisper weakness, it speaks divine authority. It says you are capable, you are chosen, you are enough. When you begin to listen to that voice, everything external loses its control over you. There is a sacred power in the act of withdrawal. When you pull your energy back from gossip, envy, competition, and distraction, you begin to gather it into a concentrated force. That force, once scattered, becomes magnetic. People begin to feel your presence without you needing to announce it. Opportunities start to appear, not because you chase them, but because your energy is now aligned with purpose. The universe does not respond to noise, it responds to vibration. And when your vibration is rooted in focus, discipline, and peace, you begin to attract without effort. So many waste years trying to change others, trying to convince them to see, to understand, to support. But wisdom teaches that when you change your energy, you no longer need to convince anyone of anything. The people meant for you will recognize your growth, the rest will fall away. Transformation does not require announcement, it requires alignment. The sun never declares its arrival, yet all life responds to its presence. So too will the world adjust to the light that radiates from within you when you focus on yourself. There is a reason the most powerful people on earth often walk alone for seasons. They understand that isolation is not punishment, it is preparation. It is in those moments of self-focus that the spirit is refined. Every distraction overcome, every emotion mastered, every temptation resisted, strengthens the foundation of inner power. The one who can rule their own thoughts can eventually shape nations, but the one who cannot control their reactions will forever be ruled by circumstance. That is why the journey inward is not optional, it is essential. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see the divine laws that govern reality. You notice that energy never lies, what you give attention to grows. You recognize that peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the mastery of your response to them. You learn that envy is the confession of your own neglect. Every time you admire another's growth, it is your soul reminding you of your own potential, waiting to be cultivated. Instead of resenting others, you start learning from them. You no longer compete, you collaborate with the universe. There comes a stage when your focus becomes so sharp that external noise fades. You stop being moved by criticism or praise, because neither defines your worth. You know who you are, and that knowing becomes your shield. The world might not understand you, but it begins to respect you. Your silence becomes a statement. Your consistency becomes your language. You radiate a calm that others can feel but cannot explain. That calmness is born of focus, the kind of focus that sees no one as a rival and nothing as impossible. The beauty of self-focus is that it transforms your relationships as well. When you focus on your growth, You stop expecting others to fill your voids. You approach people not from need, but from wholeness. You love without fear, support without attachment, and communicate without ego. This balance creates harmony because you are no longer reacting, you are responding from wisdom. Your peace becomes contagious. Your energy becomes healing. Life begins to shift in your favor when your energy no longer leaks through comparison. When your eyes are fixed on your own mission, distractions lose their power. People sense your certainty and begin to treat you differently. You no longer seek opportunities, they seek you. You no longer ask for clarity, it unfolds naturally because your mind is no longer clouded by envy or fear. You realize that what you once chased was only a reflection of what you were not yet ready to receive. Now that your focus is pure, the universe can finally trust you with abundance. The transformation is silent but undeniable. Where there was once confusion, there is now purpose. Where there was anxiety, there is peace. Where there was doubt, there is faith. You do not need to tell anyone you have changed, they feel it. Your energy speaks louder than your words. And that is the reward of self-focus. You evolve beyond explanation. You no longer need to prove who you are because you are living proof. In the end, focusing on yourself is not about selfishness, it is about sacred alignment. It is the decision to take full responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and destiny. It is the realization that no one outside you can make you whole because wholeness is an inside job. It is the awakening of divine confidence, the kind that moves quietly but powerfully, knowing that everything external will eventually mirror the order within. When you focus on yourself, you become the cause of your own transformation, and from that cause, every effect in your world begins to change. There is a divine law that governs the unseen order of life, a law that declares that energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you observe, you empower. Whatever you fix your mind upon, you begin to create in your world. That is why the moment you withdraw your attention from the affairs of others and turn it inward, your life begins to ascend. It is not magic, it is mathematics of the spirit. Energy, once divided among distractions, becomes weak and uncertain, but when gathered within, it transforms into vision, will, and magnetism. When a man or woman focuses deeply on themselves and the refinement of their mind, the mastery of their emotions, the elevation of their purpose, they begin to carry a pres. Hence that commands without force, influences without words, and transforms without effort. To focus on yourself is to align with divine intelligence. It is to recognize that everything external is merely a reflection of what is happening within you. Every conflict, every disappointment, every delay is a mirror showing you where your attention has strayed. The unwise blame the outer world, the awakened correct the inner. The unwise waste energy watching others rise, the awakened build the discipline that guarantees their own ascent. When you master your inner world, the outer world begins to obey your vibration. Situations that once troubled you dissolve. People who once drained you fall away. Paths that were once hidden reveal themselves. This is not coincidence, it is consequence, born from the sacred act of self-focus. Most people live as emotional reactors. Their moods are determined by what others say or do. Their peace is held hostage by external approval, and their identity is shaped by comparison. But to live like that is to hand the keys of your soul to the world. True power begins when you take them back. When you decide that no one's opinion can disturb your calm, no circumstance can steal your gratitude, and no failure can destroy your faith. You ascend into mastery. You no longer bend with the winds of opinion. You stand firm like a mountain, unmoved and unbothered. The one who learns detachment learns dominion. Detachment is often misunderstood. It is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the realization that your worth is constant, whether praised or ignored. It is understanding that your peace cannot be borrowed from others, it must be owned. When you detach, you no longer need the world to validate your light. You become whole, and that wholeness is magnetic. It draws to you the people and opportunities that match your new vibration. The moment you stop chasing, you begin attracting. The moment you stop trying to be seen, your presence becomes undeniable. There is a quiet majesty that surrounds a person who has mastered the art of focusing on themselves. Their energy speaks before they do. Their silence has weight. Their decisions carry purpose. They walk into a room and without saying a word, others feel their calm, their confidence, their centeredness. That is the result of inner alignment. Such a person does not gossip, compare, or complain because their mind is too occupied building what others only dream of. They understand that attention is sacred currency, and they spend it wisely on growth, vision, and gratitude. When you focus on yourself, you begin to experience the power of spiritual transformation. Your perception changes. You stop seeing obstacles as enemies and start seeing them as teachers. You no longer interpret rejection as loss, but as redirection. You begin to trust that everything happening around you serves your becoming. This is the wisdom of the awakened soul. It recognizes that what appears to be falling apart is often falling into place. When you focus on yourself, you give the divine space to move through you, to reshape you, to refine you. Every challenge becomes a chisel shaping the masterpiece of your life. The world is addicted to comparison because it fears stillness. People seek validation from others because they have not yet learned to validate themselves. They crave attention because they do not yet recognize their own light. But the moment you step away from that game, the moment you choose self-mastery over self-display, you enter a realm of power few ever experience. Your energy becomes sacred. You no longer chase what is temporary because you have found what is eternal yourself. That discovery changes everything. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You no longer react to the smallness of others because you have remembered the greatness within yourself. Every master once walked through a season of silence. They withdrew from the crowd not because they were weak, but because they were awakening. They understood that focus is a weapon, that energy scattered is energy lost. In their solitude, they learned to listen to the whisper of divine instruction. They built their inner foundation while the world slept. And when they reemerged, they carried a power that could not be ignored. That same power is waiting within you, but it can only awaken when your focus returns home. When you focus on yourself, you begin to live intentionally. You start asking, does this align with my purpose? Does this thought serve my peace? Does this habit strengthen my spirit? These questions refine your consciousness. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You begin to move with precision, knowing that every action either builds or breaks your future. Your time becomes sacred, your energy precious, your peace non-negotiable. And slowly, life begins to mirror that order. The people who no longer serve your vibration drift away. The opportunities aligned with your calling begin to appear. What once felt forced now flows with ease because you are no longer at war with yourself. In truth, the world responds to the energy of those who know who they are. When your focus is inward, your spirit glows with certainty. You no longer need to explain your value, it is self-evident. You no longer try to prove your worth, it radiates effortlessly. The universe bends to those who are centered because they move in harmony with its laws. They are not swayed by emotion, not controlled by fear, not distracted by noise. Their gaze is fixed, their faith is firm, their heart is steady. That is the essence of power, not domination over others, but dominion over self. And yet, focusing on yourself does not isolate you from love, it deepens your capacity for it. When you know yourself, you can love without attachment, give without depletion, and serve without losing balance. You no longer depend on others to fill what you have already cultivated within. You meet others, not to complete you, but to complement your wholeness. That is the beauty of divine alignment. It does not separate, strengthens. It allows you to engage with life from a place of fullness rather than lack. So many spend years waiting for life to change, for others to act differently, for the world to give them permission. But the truth is, everything changes the moment you do. The shift begins the instant you turn your gaze inward and commit to your own evolution. When your focus is pure, your energy becomes unstoppable. When your mind is clear, your path becomes visible. When your emotions are balanced, your intuition becomes sharp. You begin to sense what others cannot see, hear what others ignore, and attract what others chase. That is the miracle of focus. It turns ordinary existence into divine expression. In that state, nothing external can shake you. You become rooted in peace, anchored in faith, and guided by purpose. You no longer fear loss because you understand that what is meant for you cannot miss you. You no longer seek attention because your energy itself becomes your introduction. You no longer feel the need to explain your journey because you are too busy living it. And that perhaps is the highest form of wisdom, to become so focused on your own growth that the world must evolve to keep up with you. The moment you make yourself your primary focus, the universe reorganizes around your intention. You start to see doors open where there were walls. You feel light where there was heaviness. You experience peace where there was confusion. You realize that you were never waiting for the world to change, you were waiting for yourself to awaken. And when you do, everything else must follow. There is a quiet revolution that begins the moment a person withdraws their energy from the outer world and directs it inward. It is the revolution of consciousness, the awakening of true power. For too long, people have been trained to believe that fulfillment lies in being noticed, validated, or approved by others. Yet the truth is, nothing outside of you can ever complete you. The more you chase recognition, the further you move from your real strength. But when you decide to focus solely on your own growth, your own peace, your own alignment, a mysterious transformation begins to unfold. You start to feel the weight of comparison fall away. The noise of the world fades into silence. You begin to move with calm confidence, knowing that everything you once sought in others was waiting within you all along. To focus on yourself is to return to the source. Every soul carries a divine blueprint, a unique design imprinted by infinite intelligence. But that design can only express itself when your attention is undivided. As long as your energy is scattered trying to please others, trying to keep up with them, trying to be seen, you remain disconnected from your power. The world tells you to compete, to prove, to perform. But wisdom tells you to align, to ref, ini, to remember. The difference is subtle but profound. When you chase validation, you lose energy. When you cultivate self-awareness, you generate it. And that energy, once cultivated, becomes magnetic. It draws everything you need without struggle or force. The one who focuses inward becomes the master of their emotions. They do not fall prey to envy, anger, or fear because they understand these are signals, not identities. They know that emotional control is not suppression, it is transformation. Every time they choose peace over reaction, patience over impulse, discipline over distraction, they strengthen their spiritual foundation. Slowly, the storms that once shook them now serve to sharpen them. They learn to observe without absorbing, to feel deeply yet remain grounded. This is the power of emotional detachment, not coldness, but calmness born of understanding. It is realizing that you cannot control what others do, but you can always command your own response. To focus on yourself is to enter into partnership with divine intelligence. You begin to sense guidance that was always there but hidden beneath noise. Intuition sharpens. Synchronicities appear. Paths open with ease where effort once failed. This is because alignment replaces anxiety. When you no longer waste energy comparing your pace to another's, your steps become lighter. You begin to move in rhythm with your purpose, not with the pressure of expectation. And in that rhythm, life begins to cooperate with you. What you once chased begins to flow toward you, drawn by the clarity of your vibration. Most people fear solitude, but solitude is sacred. It is not emptiness, it is incubation. In silence, you are refined. In stillness, you are rebuilt. The world may mistake your withdrawal for isolation, but those who understand will see it as transformation. Every great soul in history passed through that silent zone of time when they turned inward to rebuild their mind, purify their intentions, and align their will with divine purpose. When you focus on yourself, you too enter that sacred space. You start to strip away the layers of illusion, ego, insecurity, comparison, and what remains is pure essence. The person you were meant to be emerges unshaken, unbothered, unstoppable. The more you focus on yourself, the less you crave attention. You begin to understand that energy speaks louder than words. Presence becomes more powerful than performance. You no longer announce your growth, you embody it. People begin to feel your shift without you saying a word. They notice your silence has weight. Your actions have purpose. Your confidence has calmness. You no longer seek to be the loudest in the room because you've learned that true influence requires no noise. The quiet strength of focus radiates more power than the empty noise of attention-seeking. The transformation that happens through self-focus is both spiritual and practical. You begin to notice pattern habits that drain you, environments stifle you, people who distract you from your calling. And as you grow in awareness, you begin to release them, not in anger, but in peace. You understand that letting go is not rejection, it is redirection. It is the universe clearing space for what truly aligns with your path. You start to protect your energy as sacred ground, knowing that not everyone can walk with you where you are going. And in that protection, you cultivate a peace so stable that no external chaos can disturb it. The truth is, when you stop focusing on others, you reclaim the energy that was always yours. That energy is the currency of creation. Whatever you create with focused intention becomes reality. When your energy is spread thin through jealousy, gossip, or distraction, your results become diluted. But when you gather it, concentrate it, and apply it to your purpose, life begins to bend in your favor. You start achieving in months what once took years because you are no longer divided within yourself. The power that once leaked through distraction now fuels manifestation. It is a divine paradox. When you stop trying to prove your worth, life begins to reflect it. When you stop seeking validation, opportunities begin to validate you. When you stop watching others, others begin to watch you, not because you demanded attention, but because you became the embodiment of focus and faith. That is the secret behind every great transformation, the turning inward. The most powerful people are not those who dominate others, but those who have mastered themselves. They radiate peace, they move with precision, and their energy commands respect because it is pure. As your focus deepens, your perception sharpens. You begin to see that everything that once irritated you was a mirror of something unhealed within you. The judgment you held for others was the reflection of your own unmet potential. The envy you felt was the soul's reminder that you were capable of more. And when you heal, those reactions dissolve. You start to bless others' success because it no longer threatens you. You begin to see beauty in every soul's journey because you are no longer disconnected from your own. That is the true essence of inner mastery, not to rise above others, but to rise above reaction. When you focus on yourself, you rise into divine rhythm, the flow, where effort feels natural and results come without struggle. You begin to attract experiences that match your frequency. You meet people who mirror your evolution, who challenge you to grow instead of compete. Life stops being a race and becomes a revelation. You realize that every delay, every disappointment was guiding you toward your true path. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That simple shift in awareness transforms obstacles into opportunities. Focusing on yourself is not an act of arrogance, it is an act of reverence. It is honoring the divine life force within you by giving it your full attention. It is choosing to build your peace instead of chasing approval, to nurture your growth instead of feeding distractions. It is standing in your own power, not because you need to prove anything, but because you finally understand who you are. And when you live in that understanding, everything changes. Your relationships deepen, your path clarifies, and your energy becomes unstoppable. The world begins to shape itself around your inner order because the outer always follows the inner. There is no greater gift you can give yourself or the world than your full presence, present in your purpose, present in your peace, present in your own becoming. When you focus on yourself, you awaken the divine within you. You no longer move through life as a seeker, you move as a creator. You no longer ask for permission, you walk in conviction. You no longer wait for change, you embody it. And as your inner world transforms, so too does everything that surrounds you. The truth of this entire journey is simple yet profound. The moment you decide to turn your focus inward, you begin to awaken the divine power that has always lived within you. The path to transformation does not come from chasing approval, competing for attention, or proving your worth to anyone. It comes from mastering your mind, healing your emotions, and aligning your energy with your higher purpose. When you stop scattering your attention across the noise of the world and direct it toward your own growth, you become unstoppable. You begin to radiate calm confidence, quiet strength, and magnetic peace. You no longer move through life reacting to circumstances, you respond with wisdom. You no longer seek validation because your worth becomes self-evident. You no longer chase success because success begins to flow naturally toward you. The storms that once shook you now sharpen you. The silence that once scared you now strengthens you. You realize that everything you need, clarity, purpose, peace, abundance, was never outside of you. It was waiting in the stillness of your own soul. The ultimate lesson is this: when you focus on yourself, you are not being selfish, you are becoming whole. And when you are whole, you uplift everything and everyone around you without even trying. Your energy becomes a light in a world filled with distraction and noise. You begin to move not from ego, but from essence, not from fear, but from faith. That is the power of alignment. That is the power of inner focus. That is the power of becoming the person you were always meant to be. So let this be your reminder: you do not need to chase anything. You only need to return to yourself. Protect your peace. Guard your energy. Walk with quiet certainty. Trust that as you build yourself, the universe will build with you. Because the moment you master your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to reflect that mastery. And in that harmony, you will discover the deepest truth of all: that the life you've been seeking has been within you all along.